So you should be turned to your notes. They should look like this. Can you find these notes in your packet, please, so we can talk about this? It should be the next, if you flip over from the homework, it should be the next page. All right. Looks like everybody's with me now. So stoichio means element. That's element. It didn't turn out perfect writing, but it's close. And then metri means to measure. So we're measuring elements. And the way that we do that primarily is with moles, okay? And we're going to talk about why we do moles here in the next few days. Chemical reactions are going to keep going as long as we have reactants. So you saw yesterday or whenever you did your homework that you were looking at the pizzas, right? You were making pizzas, and you were able to keep making pizzas until you ran out of what? What limited you from making more pizzas? The sauce, okay? So you ran out of sauce, you couldn't make any more pizzas after that, okay? So the reaction stops when one of your reactants is used up. Stoichiometry then, and a lot of times we'll just call it stoich, allows us to predict the amount of products. So you predicted how many pizzas you could make with those ingredients that you had on hand. It allows you to predict the amount of products that are formed and needed from kind of what seems like limited information. All right. Mole mass relationship then, stoichiometry then, you're going to look at the quantitative or numbers relationship between the amount of products and the amount of reactants. And it's based on the law of conservation of mass. And if you remember that, matter can't be created or destroyed. So we can predict how many reactants we need based on how many products we need to form. So if you wanted to make 5 dozen cookies, you could look at the recipe and see how many chocolate chips you need and how much flour you need and that sort of thing. Okay? So here, you are a short order cook and you need to make breakfast specials. Each breakfast special consists of 2 eggs. So this becomes our chemical reaction, so to speak. And we have 3 pieces of bacon, and that makes 1 breakfast special. Okay. So we want to make one for everybody in the class. And today we have 15 people. So we want to end up with 15 specials here. We need to figure out how many eggs and how much bacon we need to purchase in order for this to happen. So at the end, we want to end up with these. And we need to know how much of this stuff we're going to start with. Okay? Now, in the end, we will have made 15 of these. We wouldn't have started out with any of these. Now, what I tell people to do is to take the value that's here, whatever you've been working with, and go up through your coefficient. When you go up through your coefficient, you're going to divide here. When you go up, you're going to divide. Okay? So 15 divided by 1 is how much? 15 divided by 1. You guys can do this in your head. 15. Thank you. Okay. So now we're trying to figure out how many of each of these we're going to make. When we come down out of the cloud, we go through these coefficients again. And this time, instead of dividing, we're going to multiply. Exactly. Okay. So you're going to multiply here, and you're going to multiply here. So here, 15 times 2, I would need 30 eggs. And 15 times 3, I'd need 45 pieces of bacon. And if I used up all 45, I wouldn't have any left. If I used up all 30, I wouldn't have any left. I'm going to use the same equation down here. Okay. This time they're telling us that we're starting out with 16 dozen eggs. I got to figure out what 16 times 12 is. 16 times 12, that is 192. And then 3 times 12 is 30. No, 18 times 12. I'm sorry. 18 times 12. I was like, what? It doesn't look right. Okay. 18 times 12 is 216. Okay. In the beginning, we don't have any of these made. We've got to figure out how many we can make. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to take these and we're going to go up in to the cloud here. When we go into the cloud, when we go up, we do what operation? Divide. So we're going to divide 192 by whatever the coefficient is. So 192 divided by 2 is 96. Okay. And then here, I'm going to do 216 divided by 3. That's going to be 72. So 72. All right. I took that. I divided by 3 to get 72. That's how I got it. Now, if you have multiple clouds like this or multiple plate things that you're starting with and you don't know which one you're going to run out of first, you get rid of all but the smallest value. And then you use that smallest value throughout. So here, I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to take him. I'm going to go through this coefficient, and I'm going to put how many I'm going to use here. So 72 times 2 is how much? It's 144, yeah. So this is 144 eggs. Here, I'm going to use up all 216. Here, instead of a minus, I'm going to have what sign here? Plus, because you're making the stuff on this side. You're using this up to make these things. So here we're going to plus, and that's going to be, I'm going to take that, I'm going to multiply by 1. That's going to be 72. Now we need to go through and figure out how much we've got left. So here, 192 minus 144 is 48. So I'd have 48 eggs left over. I wouldn't have any bacon left over, and I would have made 72 breakfast specials. All right, what questions do you have there? Anything there not making sense? Kind of how this works? All right, let's try one more. We've got a dozen eggs, so we're going to have the same equation here. 2 eggs plus 3 pieces of bacon gives us a bacon special. All right, I'm starting out with a dozen eggs. I'm starting out with 2 dozen strips of bacon. And in the beginning, I don't have any of these made. Okay, so we're going to take this. We're going to go up through the cloud or up into here. When I go up, what do? Divide. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. We get rid of all but the smallest number. And then we go through and figure out what the other values are going to be. So now I'm going to come back down out of the cloud here, or back down. I'm going to multiply by 6 times 2, So this is going to be minus 12. This is going to be 6 times 3. Get down to here, which is 18. And I'll subtract 18 of those. And that means that I'm going to make how many breakfast specials? 6. Because 6 times 1 is 6. So I've got 6 of those total. I'm going to have 6 left over here. If I can subtract correctly in my brain and write things correctly. There's 6 left over. And I won't have any eggs left over. And I can guarantee you if my kid's around, there won't be 6 pieces of bacon left either. You will scarf them down. They are gone. That child and his love of bacon runs deep. All right, is this making sense to you? Okay, so tonight you have 11-2 for your homework. You can work on that now by yourself, or you can finish your test from Friday if you didn't have that finished. So those are the 2 things that you should be working on at this point. And if you didn't have